apologies for the technical difficulties that we experienced at 12 o'clock. But we've gone one better, and we've got Enda Fallon to meet us on campus to have a very brief chat in relation to the courses that fall within his department. So just again to reiterate what was mentioned at 12 o'clock in relation to the support structure that we have in place for students over the next week. We've 1 week left to go to the CEO deadline this day week at 5:15. Get in touch with us, ask us at ait.ie is the email, send us a DM on Instagram, and we're here to support and guide you throughout the next 7 days or so. So, without further ado, Enda, thanks a million for coming on campus to have a chat with us. We appreciate it. And I suppose we're delighted to have this opportunity because of the nature of Enda's courses, computer and software courses. There's a lot of questions that tend to come in year on year in relation to these programs. We've got a few of them in over the last couple of days, and also over the last number of months. Questions have poured in relation to work placements, structures, and also in the lines of how the level system works. So going from level 6 right up to what essentially you have level 10 offerings in the department as well. So Enda, firstly, can you give us, I suppose, a little bit of an overview of the course structure within your department?
Yeah, so the department is computer and software engineering, so it's really structured into software for hardware, which is computer engineering, and then software specific. So our traditional background from the 70s has been in communication software. So the computer engineering courses, what you're doing is you're trying to write software to interface to the hardware. So the likes of smart cars, Internet of Things, where everything's connected to the internet, and you're trying to pull that together and make sense of it. So at the moment, we have a self-driving Jeep, and a trailer was on Instagram last week that's provided to us by Vallejo, their company in Tuam, and we're doing some site testing on that. That'll kind of try into the computer engineering courses. Then there's computer engineering with network infrastructure. So that's like if you had an organisation like AIT that has its own computer network, or you had an accountancy company or an insurance company, they've got their own network, and you'd be looking after that network, making installations, replacing hardware, that sort of thing. So that's the computer engineering side. And then the software engineering side really ties into all the work we do with the different companies. So what we're trying to do is get the expertise that these companies have, and we have, we've taken about €2 million in applied research funding every year with these companies. So we know what they need, and what we try and do is design courses that the graduates are ready, So they specialise in 3 areas. So it's virtual reality and gaming, which is really successful for us. It's artificial intelligence for cloud computing, and then it's mobile apps and connected devices. So I suppose we're just trying to meet the need of the local area. Some great companies here in Athlone, and we're trying to create graduates that are industry ready.
Okay. You mentioned there about local companies. We've got Ericsson, but nationally we've got some also the likes of Microsoft, also have a base here in this country. Let's just, I suppose, talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about the careers, and let's talk about where students can potentially dream of working down the line, both regionally, nationally, and internationally. Can you give us a flavour of some of the companies that some of the graduates have gone on to work in recent years, or where maybe the jobs of the future might lie?
Yes, Ireland, is a huge hub internationally for software. 16 of the top 20 software engineering companies have their European base in Ireland, so there's huge opportunity. So within that, I suppose the point, and we've talked about it before, really, we're not producing enough software engineering graduates. So we need about 12,000 graduates per year. The colleges in total are producing about 3,000 ICT graduates. So you're looking at a shortfall there of 9,000 on a given year, And what we're doing is there's about 3,000 people converting from other types of degree, and then the remainder is coming in from the EU and from outside the EU. So it's creating a great innovative environment. The companies that you talked about, locally here in Athlone, within 2 miles, there's about 1,500 software engineers employed. So everybody knows about Ericsson, but we also have startups, the likes of Sodero, Nuida, literally just outside the window here, Immersive Technologies in the VR space. So, what we really try and do is link with those companies, get an understanding of their needs. You talked about the whole way to level 10. So we take in, as I said, all that funding. So we basically want to align our courses to those companies so that they're available. So in Galway, it probably will be SAP and HPE will be 2 of our big contacts as well. And then in Dublin, you've obviously got all the big names that you would have, Google's, IBM, Facebook. So it's, huge opportunity, you know.
Okay, excellent. Taking it right back to some of our viewers today, Leaving Cert students that are making that decision of what they want to do, what advice or encouragement would you give to them in terms of pursuing a course in this space? What's the catch in terms of something exciting to study, but also career-wise long-term as well?
I suppose it's a really innovative and interesting area to work in. And really, like, we're employers ourselves. We employ about 20 contract staff within the department as well, you know. So we're on the other side of the interview panel, you know, as well within that. And what we're really looking for is people that are innovative, that are problem solvers, you know, that can take a particular technology and see what the problem is and how you apply that technology. So as you know yourself, we're running the coding camp online this morning. So the students within that are looking at how fitness can be maintained during the lockdown. And that's a problem. And then what they'll do is they'll look at different technologies and see how they can solve the problems. So we're looking for people that are problem solvers, that are innovative. You know, we can teach technology, you know, and we can teach it academically. But really, those technologies are going to change, and what we need to do is, you know, to teach how to learn. You know, that in 5 or 6 years' time, you're going to be using different technologies, and just to be able to change and adapt to that. So, really interesting environment, huge opportunity. You know, both, you know, from an employment point of view, but also from a career balance point of view.
Okay. For anybody watching as well, at the moment, we would advise to check out our CEO Hub, where we have, I suppose, populated that space with as much content as we could in relation to podcasts and blogs. And a lot of those podcasts and blogs fall under your department as well. We've had some really good vodcasts as well with some students from your department. A couple in particular, Andrea, a young lady studying software. Can we just touch on the whole area of females in engineering? I think that's a very important piece, and I suppose to eradicate that stigma about, you know, it can only be a guy who can study engineering or an engineering discipline. There are lots of opportunities for females within this space, and it is a very much a growing space.
It's a huge point. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why ICT should be gender specific. There's absolutely no reason why being male or female, that there's any difference in why you would have an interest in the area. One of the companies that we work with in Northern Ireland, they're NiSoft. They basically write software for power stations, including nuclear power stations. But the CTO and CEO of that company are both women. And they are quite concerned about the number of females that are coming into the ICT space. And there's absolutely no reason why you can't, you know, why the career is in any way gender specific. Now, in the ICT space, we have to be honest on it. You know, some of the marketing over the years has been male oriented. You know, you take the likes of the Game Boy as an example. Why is it called a Game Boy? Or, you know, a lot of the games can be oriented, you know, maybe towards boys, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you take the coding camp that we had this morning, there's a 50-50 male-female split. So huge opportunity. You know, there's no reason why it should be anywhere in engineering, but specifically in ICT. You know, and there's huge opportunity in that. I mean, Andrea herself was you know, a student of excellence. She's an over 500 point student here, and you know, there's huge opportunity through the courses that we provide.
Okay. A very common question that we have received over this whole campaign leading up to the Change of Mind deadline is in around the whole area of maths and the requirement for maths for any engineering discipline. Can you give us a little bit of an overview in terms of the requirement for maths within software, in terms of what's expected year on year in terms of an ability or a level of maths?
Yeah, so I can be very direct on that, Dan. I can tell you exactly what we need. So in the software design programs, you'll basically take maths for the first 2 years. And the aspects of the Leaving Cert course we concentrate on are calculus and algebra. So in the first year, you'll basically look at a repetition of the calculus and algebra elements of the Leaving Cert course. There's things in there you don't need. Now, within that, we teach it in a very practically based way, you know. So what we're trying to do is not maths for maths' sake. It's It's basically how you use maths in certain scenarios, you know. So within that, there's free tutorial support. So there's your lectures, there's your practical sessions, and there's free tutorial support available as well, which can be booked. What we typically find with our first year students is that maths isn't an issue. The big thing that we find with our first year groups is, you know, attendance. That if you get a strong level of attendance in your courses, because they're very practically oriented, you know that yourself, you know, that there's a very high pass rate, and people who, you know, apply themselves to the courses really don't have any issue with the maths because of the supports that are there, you know. So
okay. Again, another important point to pick from that answer is a support structure that is here in AIT, and I suppose that has been reiterated as a very important message throughout all of our live Q&As, but also our podcast as well. And you'll see that highlighted in the blog writing of the students as well, where they talk about the level of support that is there for students. So, and it's a very good point in relation to the support structure for tutors right across the board. So, and just, I suppose, to wrap up and finish up, you know, with 1 week to go, and it's an important week. Hopefully, students are more relaxed at this stage than they might have been at the beginning of this whole cycle. But can you maybe give us a little bit of advice for students that are considering this space? Who can they contact? I know they can contact ourselves, but who within your area can they contact within the next week to find out more about the courses?
So they can, as you said, you've been hugely supportive with all the students, you know, they can contact me directly, and what I can do is I can put them in contact with some of the lecturers who are, you know, course supervisors, but also former students. You know, you've been doing vodcasts with different students over the years. These are people that were in exactly the same position that you've been in, you know, 2 to 3 years ago. So, you know, there's huge opportunity. The COVID situation, thankfully, I think has been handled excellently in Ireland. You know, we're talking to different countries. So it's looking really positive for the year ahead. I suppose if you are interested in a career, if you're a person who's interested in problem solving and interested in technology, you know, it's going to be a really innovative area to work in, continually changing. It's a good opportunity, you know.
Okay.
And there's good employment potential, huge employment potential in this space.
Okay. Enda, thanks a million for coming in. We appreciate it. You know, on short notice, and we apologise to anybody that was watching earlier in relation to the technical difficulties that we're having. And again, to reiterate the message, we're here to support you. We're here to try and offer you as much advice as possible. You can book a 30-minute virtual guidance session with our student recruitment team, also to ask us any questions. And as Enda said, we can put you in touch with some of the lecturers that are here on campus and our academic professionals as well. So thanks a million for tuning in today. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the very best of luck with your decision.